Welcome. Welcome again to you all. My name is Dr. Azizi Seixas, and I'm the director of the Media and Innovation Lab at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. And welcome to you all again for another installation of our STEM cell program: science, technology, engineering, math, and social and emotional learning. And we've created over the past few months a digital mental health series where we want to engage the community, all of you, nationally and internationally, about ways in which we can use some of the best pioneering and innovative digital solutions to tackle our growing mental health issues and concerns. One of the things that our team at the University of Miami and our guest today felt that it was necessary for us to do before we start today's proceedings is that it would be a little bit tone deaf for us not to acknowledge all that has been going on in the United States over the past 2 weeks with regards to the mass shootings and killings. And so while we are not trying to be political because we're scientists, we think that it is necessary for us to take a moment of silence whereby we can pay tribute and pay reverence to those who have lost their lives and those whose lives have been changed eternally because of their exposure to such trauma. And so, one of the things that many of you probably don't know, we talk about this all the time at the Media and Innovation Lab, especially in our role as part of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science, is that oftentimes we need to start adopting certain emotions and ways of dealing with very tough, grieving emotions. And we oftentimes talk about the spirit of lamenting or lamentation. And really, what that means is that we're trying to, one, acknowledge and identify the fact that we may not be able to have quick fixes to really tackle this issue, but at the same time, it's a moment of solitude and grief and mourning. But we want to do this as a collective body. So, with that, I'm just going to ask you, please, to just pay a moment of silence and reverence for those people who have been afflicted by all the mass shootings and killings. Thank you. We pay homage to the deceased and those who are suffering. So, on that note, I am just excited to have a great colleague and friend, Dr. Jen Huberty, who is the director of science at CALM. Jen and I have been wanting to work together for quite some time when she was at her previous position. And when she moved and transitioned to CALM as director of science, which she is the first director of science for CALM. So that's a huge, big deal for Jen. And I am just so excited that CALM really has really catapulted itself as being one of the premier digital wellness, emotional wellness, and mental wellness programs that focuses on mindfulness and meditation. And so, what we wanted to do as part of the spirit of the digital mental health series that we have created here at the Mill is that we want to bring solutions like this to you at your fingertips. And so, we've asked some of the fantastic, great companies like CALM to share with us, to kind of open up the box, so to speak, and share what CALM is all about. So, again, I just want to thank Dr. Huberty. Jen, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me. It's really a joy to be sharing this today, so thank you for having me.
Sure. So, one of the things that if you could just talk to us a little bit about your background, because oftentimes when people see us bringing in folks from industry, they feel as if that they don't have the academic moxie and chops per se, but I know that you have that. You're a well-funded researcher and have published tremendously. So I guess we call that the street cred. Do you mind just sharing a little bit, please,
Yeah,
about
sure.
your background?
So, I've been in academic research for almost 20 years before I moved to COM, and really started my career working in communities, community-based participatory research. So really getting to know communities, asking questions, not insinuating, not developing things that I thought were best, really talking to communities about what they did. And that's kind of how I ended up with evidence and product like COM, is that I really wanted to focus my research on resources that were already being used by the masses and making sure that those things are effective and actually working. And so that's really what led me to my work with COM and being the director of science. And I will say that also personally, I am a firm believer in mindfulness practices. I choose meditation and yoga, but I think there's a number of things which I'll share today about, all the ways that you can practice mindfulness. But mindfulness has changed my life, and I had a really pretty considerable trauma about 11 years ago that led me to that. And so I also have this personal understanding of how these tools can be used beyond just doing research with folks. So I think I have that balance that really helps.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing your own personal story. Really appreciate that, because oftentimes as researchers, we are told that, research cannot be me search, but so much of what drives us in our research in many ways has significant resonance with either our lives or someone else who we know. So really, appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about COM, because when I sharing with my network and family and friends, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have the great Jen Huberty as part of our guest for COM, and a lot of people were asking, what is COM? So tell us a little bit, please, in terms of what is COM and who uses COM.
Yeah. So I think over the years, Calm was really known as a meditation app, right? They did the 10 minutes, the daily Calm. Tamara Levitt's content has really, helped Calm rise. But really, Calm is more about mindfulness resources, and everything's evidence-based, but, sleep, mindfulness, including meditation. We have habit tracking tools. We have ways to, log your mood, and strategies to help you be successful at use, like sharing out what you're doing and tracking and reminding. And I think the important thing, though, is that Calm is diverse in the sense that, it offers 10-minute meditations. It offers, 5-minute daily move. We have Mel Ma, who does daily move for mind body connection, where you just stand up and start moving. There's the daily J, that is more like a retrospect, like his perspective on mindfulness, and he kind of teaches a lesson at the end of the time. So we have a lot of different content. We're in 7 languages, so you don't have to just be English speaking and reading to use Calm, right? So it's diverse in that sense. We have meditation programs supporting the LGBTQ community. We have master classes featuring a number of different instructors from a number of different backgrounds. We have mindful movement for all body types. We have content for pain, discomfort, illness, grief, happiness. So I think it's Calm is, who uses Calm or who can use Calm? Anybody, right? It really is diverse and has a far reach across subpopulations, basically.
I love that. The reason why I love that, Jen, is because some of the things, and one of our biggest gripes that we have with some of these companies, and I don't think Calm, is this, and I think this is where I think Calm does a really nice job, is because when you develop these solutions, if they are not population health relevant, meaning if they cannot cut across and be relevant for a wide variety of people, then what's the point? And what we do know is that mental health is a huge issue, particularly among historically underrepresented groups, racial ethnic minorities, low SES. And I'm just curious, how are you building your tools around that for accessibility? If you could just share a little bit, in terms of, I know it doesn't just focus on mental health, but just building healthy habits. Can you share a little bit more about the tools that you all have, please?
Yeah, yeah. So I will say one other thing is related to being diverse and inclusive is that, some of the initiatives the science team is working on is making sure that that's happening. So, for example, we're exploring content right now that we have engaged a population specific to ask them questions, to have them review the content, to have them give their feedback. And we are making sure that we have racial and ethnic minority inclusion. And so we're doing a good job of this, and it is top of mind and it's very important. But in terms of tools, Calm is loaded with tools to help you build a habit. And for those of you listening, we know that when you're trying to make a behavior change, like, okay, I want to be more mindful. I want to learn how to be more mindful, and I want to participate this on a daily basis. Sometimes it can be hard to just start doing it and, okay, now I'm done. I'm doing it every day, right? It takes effort and energy. It takes a lot of things. So one of the things we offer is reminders, and this is typically seen in apps, but we know that reminders help people to be successful at behaviors. Many apps use this, but it is a strategy. We also allow tracking, so people can track what they've done and kind of engage with the app in terms of, taking a look at, well, this is how much I've used the app in the last month or the last week or whatever. And thinking about goal setting and those things. We have gratitude journaling for reflection. We also have mood check-ins, and this is where you come into the app, you check in about your mood, you participate in content, mindfulness content, and then you check in on your mood again. And we have our own studies that show that mood check-in really does help people use the app more, return to the app, and more likely to have positive mood when they're using the mood check-in. So we have lots of.
Yes, sorry, Jen. This is fantastic. If you don't mind me digging in a little more, because I haven't personally used mood check-in or gratitude journals, but I can see the
What is
significant
wrong with
value.
you?
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to change that, right?
I'm
Um,
teasing.
yeah, no, I no, that's totally fine. I love the tease. Tell us more. What does that look like? Because for the lay audience out there who are tuning in right now, what does that look like on a daily basis in terms of a mood check-in and the gratitude journal? If you could just kind of unwrap that for us, please.
Yeah, so one of the ways that I'll just share more personal that I've used the gratitude journaling is I have it reminds me every evening at 9 p.m. My phone actually at 9 p.m. turns to sleep mode. So I'm not like if people text me or whatever, I'm not going to get those things until the next day. It's just kind of my way to like shut down for the last hour before bed. But so right before that, I have the gratitude journal reminding me. And it's really so great if you think about it to close your day with top of mind things that you can be grateful for. Because we all have our ups and downs during the day. We all have our stressors. So it's like last night, it's like, okay, what am I grateful for? And I thought, what are my wins? What were my wins today? My win today this was yesterday, and I put it into my gratitude journal. I'm grateful for my friend sharing that she was drinking a cup of coffee from a cup that I had bought her for her birthday. I was grateful for a connection that a colleague made for me. I was grateful for my son's face at the end of his soccer practice, how happy he was to be at soccer. So those are the things that kind of close down the day. There is actually science to show that gratitude, can help you ease stress, anxiety, those kinds of things. So this tool that Calm has, you can be reminded to use it, and you just check in on what gratitude is. And you can also share it. So for all of us social media crazy lovers out there, which I'm kind of like on the fence, I'm not really, the jury's not out for me yet. However, you can share it out. And so then you can tag a friend, you could tag Calm, but you can share, like, these are the things that I'm grateful for. Challenge others to use it too, or do something similar. So that's the gratitude. And then the mood check-in is basically really asking yourself, and there's a lot more coming out right now about emotions and how they play a role in our thoughts and what we, have happening in our lives. And so if you can hone in on the mood, like beyond happy and sad, right? Like that's where we go. I'm good or I'm bad, right? It's like, what is the mood that you're really feeling right now? And when you tap into yourself, you practice a mindfulness activity, you listen to Jay Shetty, you listen to Tamara Levitt, you listen to a sleep story. How do you feel afterwards? Really honing in on that, like, so that you can have a tangible way to guide you in terms of the benefits that you're having from practicing mindfulness. It's really hard to know until you've done it for a while, and then you'll notice things where you're more in the moment or something doesn't bother you as much. But the mood symptom tracking is really something that's more tangible right there in the moment that you can see. It's kind of like when you're doing sit-ups. If I do 5 yesterday and 10 today, I've had some improvement, right? So if you can see over time that your moods are getting better, you can see the improvement before you might feel it in other ways.
That's brilliant. And to be quite honest, you discussing and describing the gratitude journal, I actually started reflecting on the things that I was grateful for. And it
Right
just
then and there.
exactly, and it had such a calming effect on me. And obviously, this is not advertising at all, but I'm just being, part of what we try and do with these conversations is to be as immersed in the experience as much as possible. And it reminds me, Jen, something that my wife and I do. We have 2 young kids, and before we go to bed, we do a little bit of a, we're gonna call it, not really a healing circle, but we talk to our kids and ask them what they're grateful for. And in some ways it really allows our kids to be appreciative of things, because our kids are very, let's be for real, privileged, as compared to other kids. But what it allows us to do as a family is to really bond and to really zero in on the things that matter most. So, for example, the fact that, hey, Dad, I am just so happy that you had lunch with me today. Things like that was just so meaningful, and it made me wonder, like, I didn't know that, like my daughter really liked that, or my son really liked that. And I think so much of what's happening in our world, not to get on our soapbox, but because we're constantly busy, we have a busyness epidemic, I believe, that we are not able to really slow down. And what ends up happening, I think, which I am very guilty of, is that we're very unkind to our bodies. We're unkind to our spirits. And so I really like the fact that the gratitude journal allows us to put it into sharp focus. Hey, what are you grateful for? Physiologically, it seems as if it slows you down. And it captures everything. So I think we have one question. Jen, what are you grateful for? And we're gonna ask folks in the comments to put in, what are you grateful for? Jen, I don't know if you want to take a stab at that.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm grateful for today and being on this show with you. I'm really enjoying this. I'm grateful that my children are being quiet right now because they have some friends over, and mom's busy and in a meeting right now. So do not interrupt me for the next hour.
We should tune
And
in.
I will say I'm grateful for the ability to exercise this morning. I
Thank
was
you.
able to get my exercise in. But
Thank
I will
you.
say one more thing about gratitude,
Yeah.
because Calm, we have Calm kids, and we've done some studies actually with self-report from parents about kids who use Calm, and parent stress is reduced when they know their kids are using Calm. And one of the things I'll say from, again, a more of a personal standpoint of using Calm, and is that, my kids also use it, and I'm using these same things in parenting. So if my children are arguing and can't get along, they need to go to their room and write down 10 things they're grateful for. And then I give them a little time to chill out Then they come back and they read it to each other, and you would be amazed. The older they get, the better the list gets because they're more able to like say what they're feeling and thinking. But I've been doing it for a while now, and it's really nice. Things shift. You know, you can more quickly say, what could we be grateful for right now? I'm hearing a little complaining, you know, because
Yes.
we're all going through different things in our lives that we're not aware of, and we want to be mindful of that. And so, super
Oh,
important.
that's brilliant, and congrats for being not just a great scientist and leader, but a great mama as well. Because what that reminds me of, Jen, is it's like building emotional intelligence for kids, right? So the more they practice gratitude, the more they are in touch with their feelings and emotions and being able to communicate, and that could possibly help them to solve conflicts as well. Is Calm looking at that in terms of those indirect effects, or just curious?
Yeah. Not right now, but like I said, we've done some surveys in parents of children who use Calm, and you know, kids are using it for sleep, especially younger kids. You know, and like I said, parents are sleeping better and having less stress when they know their kids have a tool or a resource. You know, as a parent, those of you who are listening that are parents, when your child can't sleep, it's horrible. It's
Yes.
super stressful. You don't know what's wrong. You can't fix it. You know, oh my God, like it could be a worse problem and they just can't sleep, but they're human beings. They're just having a hard time sleeping. So knowing that my child can use a sleep story relieves my own stress, and then, you know, allows me to sleep. And that's what we're seeing. So it's pretty exciting.
I see perhaps a few thumbs up from parents out there, so I agree. So since we're talking about the functionality of calm and mindfulness in general, can you share some more concrete ways in terms of why people use calm? If you could just kind of walk us through and what are some of the benefits, and I know you've done some research on this, so if you could just kind of share with us, please, why
Yeah,
people use
sure.
calm.
Yeah. So when I first started as the director of science in more of a, like, this was, you know, years ago now, but we did ask Calm users why they started using the app. We really wanted to learn more about this. We had 12,000 subscribers answer our survey, and really a majority are using it for stress and sleep. Those are the main reasons that people are using Calm. And if you think about it, it makes sense because Calm is, you know, it's a resource for the daily grind, right? Like the ups and downs daily. And so we do have different levels of stress depending on what's going on with our lives. And sleep is directly related to stress. If you're more stressed, you're not going to sleep. If you sleep better, you maybe have less stress, right? You're non-reactive. But there's also people that use it for overall health. And there's, of course, people who use it for depression and anxiety symptoms of, um, yeah, and then other reasons. But those are really, you know, think about the general population. Most of us are stressed, and there's at least a third of the population that, or maybe it's 2/3. Sorry, it's 2/3. I think that don't sleep well, have some type of a minor sleep disturbance. So if you think about that, it's very useful for those things.
And this is fantastic. And can you just kind of share a little bit about the effectiveness of calm and just general kind of mindfulness digital solutions? I know you've done some work with using calm specifically. I'm just curious because I know a lot of people heard, wow, how could this thing help improve my sleep? How could this thing help improve my emotional well-being and mental health? Can you just share a little bit, please, in terms of some of the evidence that you have thus far?
Yeah, so we do know that Calm is effective for reducing stress and improving mental health 100%. Our first study was in college students years ago. This was when I was at ASU, and we looked at college students who used Calm compared to students that did not. So we did have a control group, and we did see reductions in stress, improvements in mindfulness. And actually, if you want to go to the next slide, um, So we've seen 84% report improved mental health, 90%, and this is across studies, so improved anxiety, or should say reduced anxiety symptoms, decreases in stress, higher sleep quality. These are what people report. But we have done randomized control trials in which, those with a sleep disturbance have participated in Calm, and as compared to a control group, they're seeing improvements in sleep, reduced daytime sleepiness, reduced fatigue. The thing that's in your brain, right, that is like you lay down to go to bed and you're like buzzing around, like thinking about your day, thinking about tomorrow, and you can't go to sleep. We see that pre-sleep arousal reduced as a result of using Calm as compared to a control group. So that's a big deal. I think those are things that many people experience or have experienced. So we definitely have seen improvements in mental health. And so, and as I mentioned, sleep is super important too. I will say, like, really what sets Calm aside from a lot of other apps in terms of, I can really talk about, science and evidence, is that we are doing research that's at the level of NIH rigor. So we do have an R01, and it's a very big deal for those of you who are listening and don't really understand. It's basically the government it believes in the science that we're doing, thinks it's rigorous, thinks it's good questions to answer with Calm, and is supporting the research. So we're going to be doing that and looking at a number of outcomes outside of self-reported outcomes. So we will have some objective measures, some blood biomarkers. This is going to be a big deal for Calm and the mindfulness app space, because nobody really has those that level of data. And so anyway, and we are affiliated with so many institutions with our scientific advisory board, University of Alabama and Arizona State University and Harvard. So we really pay special attention to making sure we're doing really good science and that it's going to make a difference. We pride ourselves on quality versus quantity. So that's why you'll see less studies from us, because we're looking at randomized control trials, good comparison groups, follow-ups, and those take more time.
I agree, and that's phenomenal. In terms of the science behind it, so I agree with you. That investigating the effectiveness of Calm is incredible. I'm just curious though, because I know there are some folks who are tuning in right now who are really intrigued by the science behind mindfulness. So if you could just share a little, how does mindfulness improve sleep? If you could just share that, please, before we go on to the next question. Like, what's the science behind that? Like, what happens if you don't mind sharing? Because there are some people who may be more convinced about, showing some connection between a mindfulness practice. Is it through kind of neurofeedback? If you could just share a little bit, please.
Yeah. So I would say, I am definitely not a sleep expert by any means, right? But like I was mentioning earlier, so we like to call it monkey mind, right? So your mind is just going all the time. And when you meditate or practice mindfulness activities, you're actually slowing that part of the brain. You're almost shrinking it, if you will. And so it quiets the mind. It allows your mind to slow down, and it helps lead to better sleep without getting too crazy scientific, But that's basically what it's doing. It's shrinking a part of the brain that's overactive and doing a lot that we don't want. It's just overstimulated. So it brings it down. And that's where we see that the cognitive pre-sleep arousal, even somatic pre-sleep arousal. So somatic pre-sleep arousal is like what your body does when you lay down to rest. If you're still kind of feeling anxious or sweaty palms or your heart rate's elevated, it helps you to take all those things down to get your body ready for rest. And then, as I mentioned, those things are so interrelated with stress. So even in the daytime, when you're doing mindfulness and it's impacting your stress again, when your body is elevated, fight or flight, and you're bringing that down, that's also going to help you to quiet your mind, lay down, and sleep at night. It's funny because people are always like, I don't understand how this could help me. And, it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, if you just take anecdotes, right? You just take people's, they listen to Matt McConaughey on sleep stories and they sleep like a champ. So there is the way those stories are put together. They're put together, similarly to have this quieting down. They're boring. They run on forever, but there's reasons that is that way.
I think that's a great, explanation, Jen, and I agree with you. So, one of the things that we've done, here at the University of Miami, as part of another center that we recently created, the Center for Translational Sleep and Circadian Sciences, we have, very mounting evidence, really indicating how sleep, particularly emotional distress, rather, impacts sleep. And one of the things that we always, had difficulties with is what are some strategies to reduce stress, but as you mentioned, to quiet the mind. Because we've found that individuals who have high levels of stress 2 hours before they go to bed typically either do not get enough sleep, or it may manifest in difficulties falling asleep, difficulties staying asleep, or early morning awakenings, which are classic insomnia-like symptoms, or the depth of their sleep, thus the quality of their sleep, is greatly reduced. And I'm really interested to see how your study, shapes this out, Jen, to really give people an understanding as to how is it that a mindfulness, and in this case, a digital solution in that of Calm, helps to induce such physiological or positive physiological reactions so that people can get good sleep. And you're absolutely right when you said earlier that we do have a sleep crisis, in terms of not getting enough sleep, or just not getting good quality sleep. And we know from many different types of studies that sleep is like the body's natural elixir, right?
Yeah.
It really purges the body of toxins and clears different
Oh, for
debris,
sure.
especially in brain. Exactly, right? So this is
Yeah.
phenomenal. But I think, Calm definitely has a significant role because we know the science, but it's how to get people to
Yeah.
sleep and to quiet themselves.
Yeah. And even, behaviors like, you got to have certain behaviors. You want to be aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. For some people, that's like, oh my goodness, you got to wind down before bed. You can use Calm to do that. But disengaging from social media, disengaging from television, it's hard to do that, right? When we're all stuck in our behaviors and our habits. But, and if you think about it, when you lay down, not to keep talking about this, but when you lay
No,
down
this
to
is
go
good. Go ahead. Yeah.
when you lay down and go to sleep and you can't sleep, that makes you stressed.
Yes.
Like, because all you're doing is thinking about how you can't sleep. And you're like, oh, crud, now what's going to happen to me, right? And we actually just got done looking at some data in a big company, and we're seeing now that sleep mediates productivity. So Calm
Ooh,
was impactful for productivity, but it's happening through improved sleep.
I
So it's super
love that point.
interesting. Yeah, because
Yes.
this is big time. How many of us go to work every day and we're like walking zombies because we haven't slept, and then we're at work and we're not doing productive work, right? We're more
I, I
workaholic.
love that point because I think what it does is that it really underscores, I think, some of the messaging issues that I think the sleep field is having. because I think sleep in many ways runs antithetical to, I believe, the American culture, where you have to pull yourselves up by the bootstrap and you're constantly going to achieve. And we've become, I think, addicted to success, that we don't necessarily think about that you gotta have to take care of yourself in order to reach that optimal performance. And I know in sports science and in sports medicine, folks who want to, reach that peak performance, that
They're
sleep is
sleeping.
exactly, it's a key component. And I'm just wondering, why is it that we, as the lay public, we haven't seen that? In many ways, we are elite athletes too, right? For those of us
Yeah.
who are like desk folks, like
I
that's
mean,
our sport.
it impacts everything. Sleeping impacts how we choose our foods during the day to nourish our body. It impacts, um, our ability to move our body, right, and be motivated to move our body, which also impacts sleep, because when you're nourishing your body with healthy foods, you're going to sleep better. When you're moving your body with exercise and physical activity, you sleep better. So it's like,
Yes.
it's a downward spiral once you get on it, but it can be upward if you can stay on it. Hence, going back to like these healthy habits and tools within apps to help people be successful at committing to these practices to
I,
feel better.
I love that. And that's extremely well said, especially saying this to a sleep scientist in myself. This is amazing. Just curious though, because I think what you've really done a masterful job describing to me and our audience today is how Calm, which initially was created to help with kind of emotional wellness and sleep, how it has been transformed for multiple uses. And I'm just curious, because one of the things that we're very keen about thinking through very deeply is that while we want to amplify and to showcase digital solutions, we also recognize that there might be a downside to this. I'm just curious what your thoughts are regarding digital solutions. Like, do you see digital health? What role will this play in I guess general health and wellness? If you could just kind of talk a little bit, about that
Yeah,
please. Is it complementary or is it adjunctive?
yeah.
Especially since there's an access gap.
Yeah, so if you'll go back one more slide, so basically, this is just showing the continuum of, how we go through life, right? And sometimes we're thriving, and sometimes we're surviving, and sometimes we're struggling, and it ebbs and flows, right? It's a continuum, right? And fluctuates over time, and it can be based on your physical health, it can be based on life events, it could be based on the environment, it could be based on politics and social happenings, right? We're all experiencing grief right now in different ways. Calm is really that resource to support people on this up and down, if you will, the flow, the roller coaster of life that we call, right? Sit back and enjoy the ride, right? You're here to be part of the journey without trying to control it, right? Like, things are happening for us all the time. And so how do we manage the way we're reacting, the way we're having emotions, the way we're taking care of ourselves? Is we can use a resource like Calm, right? Maybe it's just we listen to the music. That's it. That's all we can do right now. I'm not sitting for meditation. I'm not going on a daily walk and being mindful. I don't feel like it. But I could sit at my desk and listen to music and maybe help my concentration and my focus so that I can stay. So there's just a number of things that helps this continuum. So I would say, if someone is more in the struggling, where they're in clinical mental health treatment and medication and therapy, that doesn't mean Calm can't be used, right? It means there might be some issues going on that are out of my expertise, right? That hopefully someone's seeing a healthcare provider for and being taken care of. But Calm could be adjunctive to that, right? We hear things all the time about people coming out of those severe struggles by doing things like mindfulness practices, right? And getting back into surviving and thriving. So, you know, I'm not here to say calm is the medicine. I'm here to say calm is by your side. Calm is your resource. Calm is your friend. It's holding your hand. You can dip in and out of it as you need and want. And that's what it's equipped to do. It's a proactive resource.
Sure. Wow. So I'm going to go a little bit, not really off script per se, but that point that you made reminded me of something that just recently happened in the United Kingdom. There's a company I believe called Sleepio, where the NHS decided that they were going to approve the use of Sleepio, which is some digital
I saw
solution,
that. I saw
right?
that.
And I'm just curious what your thoughts are in terms of kind of where Calm and other solutions could go. Because I would suggest that when we do our engagement with the lay public, a lot of folks would rather, and again, I'm not speaking ill of the pharma company here, but a lot of people would prefer to have some kind of behavioral digital solution than taking some medication. What do you think about this move in the United Kingdom to kind of fold in a digital solution as a go-to recommendation? Like physicians now can recommend and prescribe a digital solution. I felt like that was such a fantastic breakthrough. I'm just curious for people like yourselves, what do you think about this movement? Do you think it's a sign of things to come down the road?
I mean, potentially. I can't speak obviously on the company of Calm. I can only speak in my little bitty role of director of science and just say that yes, it's awesome as a scientist who believes in complementary adjunctive approaches. I've been studying them for 20 years, physical activity, nutrition, meditation, yoga, all these things that help us live better lives and have better well-being. So to see something like that, it's amazing. How Sleepio did it, I don't know. And I kudos to them. I think one of my postdocs and a former postdoc just got a job with them. I need to reach out to her. But anyway, I think that, it's great. It means that, there's obviously we already know there's a future, but I think the future is going to be, continue to grow. I think the market is getting very heavy. Like there's a lot of people doing a lot of the same thing. And so I think the true evidence backed, strong entities will suffice or will make it, but obviously Sleepio had to have some serious evidence, I will say,
Oh, I think so. I
for
think
it.
they had
Like we're
like,
talking big time.
oh
So I
yeah, I
mean,
think they had like
it's huge.
13 clinical trials, over 60 something publications. And that's the reason why I brought this in for you though, Jen, because I know in many ways that's kind of part of your vision, to build that, that mountain of evidence so that folks who are already benefiting can, which are typically what we call early kind of adopters of these solutions. So I think essentially if we want to reach the masses, we have to get the late users as well. Those folks who are kind of on the fence, like, I'm not too sure if this thing would actually work. And these people are more likely to be persuaded and convinced through evidence. So this is really a huge shout out to you on what your vision is, which I think is phenomenal, where people can say, yes, whatever I am using is scientifically backed. So I think in many ways for us, what we're thinking about here at the mill is that we know that people have a very hard time accessing quality mental health care, right? And when we're talking access, we're talking economic access. We're also talking just the practical access of, do you have time to take off 2 hours from work to see a therapist? And so, we really believe that digital solutions, while not a panacea, can really serve a critical role in filling in some of the access gaps. Are there any kind of initiatives that Calm currently has or thinking about in terms of how do we get Calm into more hands and more homes? Any ideas in terms of how you guys, and I know you're just talking about the science, but just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, so Calm obviously is interested in helping all people, right? And so, like I said, like from the science side, we are talking to specific populations and informing content around that, and we'll be testing it in RCTs to make sure it's actually impactful and makes a difference. Calm. I'll go back to some of the things earlier. Is like Calm has so much content that really does apply to so many people. And I think that that's like like the Daily J. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And for those listening who haven't heard it, it's like he's it's like an action oriented and focused talk about like mindset and habit and purpose and having morning routines, and it's more about education, right? And then so perfect slide. So then, and we have the daily Calm and we have the daily Trip, and those are two daily meditations that are different every day, one by Tamara and one by Jeff. Love them both, they're amazing. And it's constant new content. And then Mel Ma, like I said, if you want to just stand up and move your body and tune into yourself through movement, that is another way. So it's like we really do try to encompass reaching everybody as best as we can. And then of course, again, the 7 languages. I mean, 7 languages, that's a lot. It's like, so we're able to basically anywhere in the world, for the most part, you can access Calm and on focus on what you need to support yourself.
This is fantastic. So, can you say a little bit more about the daily move? Why
Yeah,
is a
so these,
move? I'm just curious.
yeah,
What's the
and
science behind that?
so we're actually doing a study right now on the daily move, just to see how it's doing, in terms of like what outcomes we're seeing that's impacting the most from the daily move. But they're very quick 3 to 5 minute sessions. Again, you know, let's break it down a little bit more, like for the audience. So if you're in more in a personal setting. So for myself in my day, I am again that continuum of thriving and struggling, right? Like thriving and surviving, I should say. So like some days are more stressful than others, right? And so one of the best things that I've learned to do for myself is step away and walk away. Like literally, especially when you work from home and you're remote, you can't just walk to the coffee shop or whatever. You're just stuck. But I'll go sit with my dog, or I might go, if it's cool enough. I live in Phoenix. It's like 108 today. So today would not be the day. But I go for a 20-minute walk. Again, not today, unless it's 5 a.m. But little things to step away, give your mind a chance to just come down a little bit, right? And so that's what this whole concept is like, it's gentle, it's accessible, it's short. It's, it's also actually a combination of like yoga and tai chi and qigong and dance. So I don't know if you've tried it. It's pretty cool, actually. I kind of like it. But anyway, so that's, I think, what the purpose is, just to help people move through stress, feel grateful in their body, alternative ways to practice mindfulness. It's fun movement, gratitude, awareness, all those, self-love is really a big part of it. So yeah.
No, this is fantastic, Jen, because when I saw the daily move, I was wondering if it was part of the scientific vision to incorporate exercise as part of another strategy of dealing with stress. And based on what you're saying, it seems as if that is the case. It's really fantastic how you've woven in movement as another kind of coping strategy to deal with stress and improve, emotional, wellness. This is fantastic, and I believe we just put in the comments and chat to those folks who are currently tuning in. Feel free to drop us a question, particularly for Dr. Huberty. to, if you have any questions relating to the science of calm, feel free to drop those comments in before we have a wrap today. So Jen, in terms of kind of, the next kind of scientific next steps, what can people look forward to? I know said that there's, an NIH, grant, and congrats on that. That's amazing. You are right that it really is, significant validation that, not just the government, because I think, people need to realize that this is peer reviewed by luminaries in the field. And so it's both a validation from your peers as part of being the state of the science, as well as validation that the investment from the government. So that's really huge. Outside of that RO1, are there, studies that people who are tuning in be part of? How could they learn more about the science of calm?
Yeah, we do have the Daily Move study going on. We're still actually recruiting for that. And we have another one that we will be starting soon. I usually post on LinkedIn and Instagram and those kinds of things, and I can share with you, and you could post for us as well for those who are listening and would like to participate, especially the Daily Move. I could send you something today. But I would say, we do have some more scientific findings that are about to make its way in press, just waiting on journals, but lots of good stuff around productivity that's going to come out, return on investment for companies. So that we're really, really excited about. And the study that I mentioned about parents self-report of how their children and how they are impacted by kids using Calm should be coming out soon. So that's pretty exciting. And then we've got some other studies in the works, of course. But yeah, so there will be some stuff coming out soon. We're just practicing patience.
Yes, exactly, right. And exercising some, in our gratitude journals
That's right.
and all
Compassion.
I love that. Now, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. Again, to our audience, if there are any questions, please feel free to drop those in the comments. Jen, I know we're almost at time. Are there any, kind of parting, words or thoughts that you had or you have for our audience today?
Yeah, I would say, for those of the audience members listening in that really haven't tried any mindfulness before, a little hesitant, a little nervous, don't know, what does it mean and how do I know if I'm doing it right and all those things. Those things aren't a thing. Like mindfulness is whatever you want to make it, right? And that's why Calm is so great. We have all these different options to be mindful. Just breathing exercises alone. You don't have to listen to anything. You just watch this breathe bubble and help you, practice well-being. But I would just say that like it's so good for you and you will see a benefit from it. It takes time, and be patient with yourself and know that when you're practicing something like this, you are perfectly practicing it each time you practice it. So I've been doing meditation for maybe 11 years now. And I mean, the last 3 weeks have been crazy, right? With just like my family being sick and school out and blah, 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 blah. And when I sit for meditation, sometimes my brain is everywhere. And I sometimes will get down on myself, like, this is not, this isn't good enough. This isn't, but no, the fact that I'm just sitting and taking some time, and yeah, my brain's going everywhere, but I keep bringing it back to the breath. I keep bringing it back to the, the guided meditation, whatever it may be, it's perfect how it is. It's where I'm supposed to be. And so I would say that giving grace to ourselves, trying something new, and being patient with yourselves.
Wow, I think that's so wise. So, breathing and rest and patience as medicine to
Mhm.
cure emotional strife and ills. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Jen, Dr. Jen Huberty, Director of Calm Science. One of the things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to thank you all, just wanted to see, I think there might be some studies. Oh, there is a question. So here's a question for you, Jen. So with the studies, are they based off of the free or paid versions? I think there was a question that someone asked.
Yeah, so if you're interested in a study, you click on the link and then it'll ask you questions about your eligibility. And then once that happens, then you're entered into a study. You read an informed consent, which basically tells you what's going to happen. We do not ask for payment to be part of a research study. So I think that best answers the question, but just knowing that you do have to be eligible, but when you answer those questions, and of course you sign an informed consent that basically so that you know exactly what's going to happen to the study and that you may not participate in the study at any time. But during the study, the use of Calm is compensated for you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm sure you might be having a few people reach out to you. Again, first of all, Jen, just on behalf of myself and the Media and Innovation Lab at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, we just want to thank you so much for such a delightful session today. And to be quite honest, a lot of people don't know that you kind of moved around your schedule for us. So I just want to thank you, and just coming back from vacation as well. Just huge, huge, huge thanks. But for those of you who are out there, while you might see myself and Jen as part of today's session as kind of in the front, none of this could have been possible without the folks working in the back scenes. And to be quite honest, for us, these are the folks who run the show at the Media and Innovation Lab.
100%, 100%.
So I just want, thank you. And so I just want to give a huge shout out to Kayla and Shanique, and specifically Shanique. So Shanique Richards and Miss Kayla Taylor, huge shout out to you both, but huge shout out to Shanique. This is a bit of a bittersweet moment for us here at the Media Innovation Lab. So Shanique and I have been working together for almost the last 7-8 years, where I was at my previous institution. And our STEM cell program, this digital mental health series was really her baby. And Kayla has taken the mantle and she has passed the torch, because unfortunately, this is Shanique's last session. So on behalf of us, Shanique has been in the back, setting these things up and coordinating, and all I have to do is just to show up, literally. And so Shanique, on behalf of us at the Media and Innovation Lab, we just want to say thank you so much for your leadership and your service. And we know that you are doing great things. We know that you're still going to be part of the mill. But we're just so proud of you in terms of your next step. So I don't know if you want to say anything, Shanique. You're very shy and quiet, so you are hating me right now.
She's like, man, no thanks.
First of all, just really great talk, Dr. Huberty and Seixas. I've learned so much from this presentation today. I've actually had the Calm app for a while now, and I've actually never seen the daily move. And so I'm gonna start tapping into that. But I just want to say it's been my absolute pleasure being a part of the mill and this incredible webinar series, and just targeted a really important area for our own growth and development. So thank you all.
Thank you. And Shanique will physically and proverbially pass the baton. She will go this way diagonally and pass it to Kayla, who will be now leading our next sessions. So thanks again, Dr. Huberty. Really appreciate it. And I don't know if Kayla, if you want to share who our next speakers will be next month, please.
Yes, absolutely. Let me go ahead and provide that. So next month, thank you all who were able to join us today. Next month, we have an emotional wellness and social and emotional learning workshop with Headspace with Dr. Wisdom Powell and Alice Natu from the Headspace company. So if you would like to attend, we will be providing that information to you all soon, but we look forward to continuing our digital and mental health and social and emotional learning project. So thank you guys so much for attending today.
Thank you all so much. And thanks again, Dr. Huberty and CALM and her team for being here. We look forward to continued collaborations, particularly scientific. And thanks to you all who have tuned in. Please follow us at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, the Media and Innovation Lab. We look forward to working with you because we truly believe in health for all. Thank you and have a wonderful day.